Enche meu pão.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno. And a happy free agency Tuesday. It is open. We are open for business. The NBA free agency window has arrived. So, because there's going to be breaking news throughout the show, likely, be responsible with your comments. I trust most of you. I get the jokes and I get like the real stuff too. So if you see something I don't, you can throw it in the chat. We'll hit it. I've got everything in front of me. Hopefully, I will catch it first. A lot to go over that has already happened today. We'll talk about Duren. We'll talk about Sabonis. But yes, those are going to be our rules. Now, if anything happens with Domantas Sabonis, you are going to hear this. You're going to hear Domas's roar. It's incredible how good those mics are under the hoop. They catch everything. Listen to him when he goes to the hoop. That's Domas. So anything that happens with Domas, that's what we're going to hit through. So looking right now, not seeing anything big right at 3 o'clock, although these things sometimes are done before 3 o'clock, quite frankly. Some names have already been moved or reportedly being moved. We'll get to them in a little bit. LeBron James, again, finds another way to be a straight up bag. Like, you're LeBron James. Do you not realize that anything you do is going to get attention? Like, doing something on a random Tuesday is going to get as much attention as it's going to get on free agency day. But you got to blow it up, man. And you know the sad thing about LeBron? He knows how to do it the right way and he knows how to do it the wrong way. That's what bugs me. But as I said, free agency is open. The talk here in Sacramento surrounding Jalen Duren and Domantas Sabonis, there are some half-truths to some of the reporting. The bottom line is, with Sabonis and the Kings, it would have to be a sign-in trade. The Kings can't really offer. I think the max they can offer, someone that I trust, I think they said it was around 177. And Bobby Marks today has already said what I kind of speculated yesterday. You remember our reckless speculation that this was posturing? That's what this is. And we'll get to Bobby Marks in a second. All right, here are the teams that have money. Here's teams, the lists of what people can do, what they cannot do. Sacramento, obviously, there has their non-Pax. Or did they put them there? Did they update it? No, they have not updated it. So Sacramento should be in this list, the 15 million non-tax mid-level exception. 6.1 mid-level exceptions, and then veteran minimums. Only 3 teams with cap space at this point. So not a ton of teams that can go places. And yes, we do have news affecting the Kings that we will get to in 1 second. If you're wondering what these things are, non-taxpayer MLE mid-level exception, taxpayer MLE mid-level exception, room exception. I don't know what that is. Is that like something they add on when you get a hotel room at the Sawyer? I don't know. There's people that are hired to know these things. But as I said last week, I think the Kings' biggest target in free agency, if we're going to be relative to what the Kings have to work with, was Precious Achiuwa. Looks like the Kings got a deal done with Precious, 2 years, $11.5 million. It's a great deal for the Kings. It's a great deal for Precious. last year gave Precious an opportunity that, quite frankly, signing with the Kings, I don't think he expected. I don't think he was planning on coming in and getting the runway he did, but because of the injuries, it ended up that way. And he played himself into an important role with this team. And conversely, he really enjoyed his time in Sacramento. I love everything about Precious's work ethic. You can see it behind the scenes. You can see it on the court. You see it translate, or at least I have seen it translate from the practice facility to games. So he will be back, and that's really important because as we sit today, that puts Keegan Murray back into his natural position. I think this now bumps DeAndre Hunter to the bench. You got to put Precious in there at the 4, Keegan at the 3, 5 to be decided. But this is really good for Precious and the Kings in this sense as well. If I'm going to take it from Precious's angle, it's this. It's a 2-year deal. He's already had extended runway here in Sacramento. So this is going to be the opportunity, or he may look at this as an opportunity to even increase his value even more. So I know that he wanted to be back. As I said, the Kings wanted him back. I didn't think it was going to be in the cards, but look, Scott Perry, he's cooking. Got to give it to him. He is cooking there. So very happy to have Precious back. As for Domantas Sabonis, a lot happened last night after the show around the Jalen Duren and Domantas Sabonis talk. Even some speculation about Zach LaVine. Could Zach be included in a deal like this? Zach kind of makes more sense. And there's been a lot of debate about, whether Sabonis would fit in with Detroit or not. I think it was Kevin O'Connor that said it would be an awful move for Detroit. I happen to disagree. I think it's a great move for Detroit. And that's not me because I want Sabonis out of Sacramento. It's because of what you have there in Cade Cunningham, a unselfish lead guard that plays downhill, that is just, he runs the show and he can score from 3 different levels. He can distribute from 3 different levels. And the same can be said for the most part about Domas. So you put the two of them together, it's not all that dissimilar to what the Toronto Raptors were considering in matching Domantas Sabonis with Scotty Barnes. So interest on both sides. Notice Domantas is interested in the prospect of landing with the Pistons. We're going to dig into that more here in a few minutes. Bobby Marks earlier today on NBA or ESPN's NBA show, he said what many of us have speculated, something that I speculated yesterday. And here's his thoughts.
Sacramento is in the conversation as well.
I would love to know.
Yeah.
But is Detroit gonna match that? Whatever.
I would say
they're gonna hang on to.
I think even if a team put a max offer sheet down, that's the price of doing business.
They would do it.
Yep.
Okay, so you got your answer already. So come on.
Posturing. The gap between what Duren wants to be paid, what his max number is because he was 3rd-team All-NBA versus what his actual value is, it's far. When you think about max players, if we were under a different CBA, if we were under the CBA from 10 years ago, then you would have to pay Duren the max, but you can't do it anymore. You have to be selective. Hell, the Mavericks did not want to give Luka Doncic the max. If you're looking at players at that caliber and deciding whether or not it is worth that investment, because it really is, it's a steep investment. You have to be very, very sure that that guy is going to be your guy for the next 5 years. So Duren is supposed to meet with the Kings sometime today. If we get any update on that, we will pass that along. This was interesting, and I'm going to expand on it later in the show. But Domantas Sabonis reportedly wants a change of scenery, per Chris Haynes. I respect the heck out of Domantas Sabonis and his camp for just coming out and saying it. You know who didn't do that? Giannis. He didn't do that. You know who else didn't do it? What's his name? Wasn't he in the finals this year? De'Aaron Fox. He didn't do it either. They played this game where, I'm not going to actually say it. Well, Domas's camp is saying it, And I think Domas's camp is justified in saying it. I'm going to give you some insights into where I believe this went off the rails between the Kings and Sabonis. Yet it looks like both sides played fairly clean. They agreed to a stopgap. So this did not bleed into the public. It did not get ugly, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. One of the more surprising moves of the day is Kawhi Leonard heading back to Toronto. I would not touch, like, if you gave me a list of players right now that I would not want to touch with a 10-foot pole, he would be second or third on the list. John Morant was at the top, but Portland took him. But Kawhi Leonard has this pending investigation hanging over his head. And I wonder how this is going to affect his availability. If that investigation with Ballmer, the Clippers, salary cap evasion does not turn out his way, I'm surprised the Raptors, and remember, their GM, Masai Ujiri, he is the one that brought Kawhi to Toronto as a rental. He was a rental who ended up winning them a championship. So certainly a strong bond there between those two. I get Kawhi's age. I get, the injury concerns, but I think there is still a lot left in the tank for him. And playing it with a Scotty Barnes is only going to help both of their games. But you got to be able to be on the basketball court and not in trouble. And I am not convinced that Kawhi Leonard is not going to miss significant time this season. So we will talk more about that. If you would like to talk about it, let me know. If you have anything that you want to talk about, call the show. We've got the link that's pinned to the top of the chat. We also have the QR code that is on the screen. You'll get a dose of Grant at 7 o'clock tonight. Let's check in with all of you, see what's going on today on a Wednesday. Let's see. Backs, Ryan, what is the max contract? The Pistons or even the Kings, it's 238 million, I believe, over 5 years. 238 million. I'd touch Kawhi with the 10-foot pole. If he's not in trouble, sure. But Pablo Torre is a pretty darn respected journalist. I believe he won the Pulitzer this last year. And he's right a lot more than he's wrong. And there is a lot of smoke with that whole Ascension situation. And the investigation by the NBA has been dragged out because you've had concurrent federal court proceedings going on against members or the founder, I believe, of Ascension. So realize this, and Grant is the one that put this out. I didn't realize it was as big of a deal, but salary cap evasion is like one of the big no-nos as an owner. In fact, that's something that can get the other owners to turn on you, and it could lead. I mean, the death penalty, like Donald Sterling got for much different and much worse reasons, could be in play if that does not come out in Kawhi and the Clippers' advantage. Yours, what's up? Sabonis could lead them to the playoffs, and then Leonard takes over to lead them to the finals. The Raptors aren't doing anything with Sabonis now. That deal is done because it sends Grady Dick and basically a lot of the package that was being talked about for Sabonis out the door. I thought Duren was seeing the LA Lakers on Tuesday for tacos. Yeah, look, I'm tired of LeBron's shtick, so I'm not even going to give him the Taco Tuesday, because what's everybody talking about today now? It's LeBron freaking James. This was the first time in almost 10 years that he had gone into a season without a player option on the back end of his contract. So do you know what that means? That's the writing on the wall, that this is likely my last year in LA. LeBron is very calculated. when I see statements like Rich Paul put out that they're going to go out, engage all the teams that are interested in LeBron and report back. Dude, put LeBron into the Brett Favre category, put LeBron into the Aaron Rodgers conversation. It's just unnecessary, man. Handle your business. He knows where he wants to go. You know who the suitors are. And the worst part about it now is it affects free agency. This could hold up, theoretically, a lot of free agencies for the teams that might have legit interest in LeBron James. We might be at a damn standstill until that domino drops. And guess who's in control of it? LeBron James. I'm tired of it, man. Like, you do it right the last time, and then you couldn't have done the decision any worse. That came off so bad, and I don't want to get into my rant right now. I'll talk about it more in a little bit. But his letter to Cleveland, man, it's as perfect as it gets, right? That was the right way to say, I'm coming home. He did it ahead of time. It wasn't like you made everybody wait with free agency. And now you've got LeBron doing this, waking up at 5:51 in the morning with a gray beard, getting ready to work out, posting on IG. Like, it's silly. It's what it is. It's silly. It's unnecessary. Okay, so we've talked a lot, and I'm going to get to some more of your comments as we play this. But you've been hammered over the head with my perspective on the Sabonis-Duren situation. I'm sure local media has been hammering that as well. But what about the Detroit media? What do you think their perspective is? Guess what? I've got a little sample size. This is 97.1 The Ticket, talking about Costa and Jansen, talking about, would you want Sabonis for Duren in a sign and trade? This is Detroit's major sports talk station out there that covers the Detroit Pistons. So here's what they had to say.
Is Jalen Duren going to Yemen here? Is he really going to the Yemen of the NBA? Is he really going to go to Sacramento?
Does he really want to go to Sacktown?
I mean, is this what we believe? Is he going to Yemen?
Well, I don't think he is. I think he may sign an offer sheet there, but I think the Pistons will match it. And I think he's going to be a Piston. That's what I think. I think there's just been too much of, out in public where Trajan Langdon has talked about a big three group, and that three consists of Asar Thompson, Cade Cunningham, and Jalen Duren. I think he's part of it. They're not going to give him that max contract that they could. They're not going to do that. But if I were Sacramento, would I sign him to the max deal that they can, which is $177 million over 4 years? Would I do that just to try to get the Pistons to do every penny they can to match? Probably. And if it's,
we have breaking news. It is not NBA related, but some of you may be affected by it. Per Sean Cunningham, Shohei Ohtani will not be starting today for the Dodgers. Damn. Dude, if you bought a ticket to that game to see Shohei, that's rough. That is rough. All right, back to Detroit.
Under the guise of a sign and trade, and I stress the word guys.
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to? What's the offer? Sabonis,
yes,
who's making more money per year than what Duren will make on that contract if he gets that deal, the 177 over 4 years. Sabonis making more money for the next 2 years than Duren would, and he's not as productive. And he's older.
Well, he's a different style player.
Well,
he's definitely a different style player.
I mean, he's a better shooter, but it's not like he's a dead-eye shot. I mean, this is a guy who's a lumbering 14-10 guy. I'll take Jalen Duren at 22 to improve in his career, where, 3 years down the line, we're talking about a guy who's hopefully a legit 20-10 guy in the playoffs and not just a 20-10 guy in the regular season.
You're completely changing the way you play the game when you're cashing in a Jalen Duren for a Domas-Sabonis. Now, with that said, the cap is so ridiculously complicated, okay? Because I sat down and said, all right, I'm going to do a deep dive and we're going to simplify so we can explain to the audience all the cap ramifications. To which I realized simplifying it was impossible. First of all, they're over the cap. They can't do a sign and trade, so they got to get rid of some salary before they can even do that, talking about Sacramento. Secondly is you don't get dollar for dollar, dollar out, dollar in. So there's other challenges there. There are exceptions that come under consideration. It's hugely complicated that no average fan really gets. And even I was sitting down going over the rules going, this is insane. And, you know, the Pistons don't like if they don't have to do anything. Like the Pistons are not pressured here. Duren really doesn't have a ton of leverage. He also, by the way, can't sign and trade for more than the maximum he can sign with another team. He can't. Yeah. The highest he could get with another team if he signed that they could offer is the highest he could get in a sign and trade. But that.
So again, the optics of this are very much what I thought yesterday. I mean, would Scott Perry, is Duren more of a, what I perceive a Scott Perry big man to be? Yes. But to really gamble, and I give Scott Perry a lot of credit. I think everything that he has laid out, you are starting to see play out. Now, the wins need to eventually come with that, but he is sticking to a lot of the traits, characteristics, players that he wants or he envisions a king being. And Duren is closer to that. But this thing with the Kings, with Acuff, by no means is ready, in my opinion, to make that kind of commitment to a 22-year-old big man. I mean, you have learned, and this would be the opposite of a Zach LaVine contract, because Zach, there's a bigger sample size there. He was still Duren fairly unproven. I know he was third team All-NBA. Consistency a question. Yes, 20-10 in the regular season, but it was a down Eastern Conference. When push came to shove and playoff basketball began, he struggled. And that's the guy that should have thrived physically, to the point where JB Bickerstaff was taking him off the court. Now, I'm not going to judge him based off of just this playoff sample, but I damn sure I'm going to take that into consideration if I'm a team that has been hamstrung with bad contracts, mainly Zach LaVine's. The thought of getting back into one of those, especially with a big man. Now, think about this. The game with the big men has completely changed. Duren is not your step back from beyond the arc. He's your throwback. So that can be a blessing and a curse, but it's damn, I just need a bigger sample size from this guy. Like, I need to see another year or two before I'm thinking about laying down $177 million, especially when I don't fully know with what I have on my roster right now for cheaper. But at the end of the day, again, this looks like it's going to be posturing. He's looking to get as much money as he can get out of Detroit because of the gap of what Detroit wants to pay him and what he is eligible to make. So your thoughts on that, let me know. Most NBA players are system guys. Yeah, Precious earned at least one more contract by staying in SAC. It's a good question. I wouldn't say most guys are system guys. I guess it depends on your definition of system. Yeah, it's a great move. Awesome. I'm super happy. I promise you, it's great for both sides. It really is. It's pretty cool too that Precious wants to be here. especially coming off the year that the Kings had. But he found a little core there. The Beam Boys, whatever you want to call them, they'd get their glasses after the games when they actually won, et cetera, light the beam together. But, Precious never really, and this is the question I would ask him, and maybe he was asked this at exits. I had to leave early because we had the radio show. But, is this the first place where you feel like maybe you found a home? And you kind of get the impression that that's the case. He was valued behind the scenes. He was valued on the court. And honestly, I thought his open market value was going to be a little higher than what the Kings signed him for. So credit to both sides. It's a great move. 2 years, reevaluate it from there. This does ramp up a little bit more of that pressure on Keegan Murray about this being the year that Keegan makes that jump. And tomorrow we'll talk about it with Jerry Reynolds, who joins us every Wednesday at 3:00. But you're starting to see this Kings team come together. So a lot more still ahead. We're going to talk about Domantas Sabonis and where I believe the fracture happened between these two sides. And we are also going to talk a little bit more about LeBron James. I mean, again, a guy that knows how to do things the right way and the wrong way. LeBron, show us the wrong way.
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Miami Heat. That was the conclusion you woke up with this morning.
The wrong way. Now, Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cavs, did not react properly to that. And then he chased it with this.
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Talking about championships. And you thought the guy learned. After his run with the Heat, he decides he's going to come back to Cleveland because he wants to win them a championship. He writes this beautiful letter to the fan base. I thought it was one of the classiest things I've ever seen. Here's the letter.
Before we ever cared where I would play basketball, I was a kid from Northeast Ohio. It's where I walked, it's where I ran, it's where I cried, it's where I fled. It holds a special place in my heart. People there have seen me grow up. I sometimes feel like I'm their son. Their passion can be overwhelming, but it drives me. I want to give them hope when I can. I want to inspire them when I can. My relationship with Northeast Ohio is bigger than basketball. I didn't realize that 4 years ago. I do now. Remember when I was sitting up there at the Boys and Girls Club in 2010? I was thinking this is really tough. I could feel it. I was leaving something I had spent a long time creating. If I could do it all over again, I'd obviously do things differently, but I'd still have left. Miami for me has been almost like college for other kids. These past 4 years helped raise me into who I am. I become a better player and a better man. I learned from a franchise that has been where I wanted to go. I will always think of Miami as my second home. Without the experiences I had there, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing
Absolutely
today.
perfect.
I went to Miami because of D-Wade and CB. We made sacrifices.
Not going to play all 7 minutes, but you get the tone of the letter. It's awesome. You can't do it any better. And now we've U-turned and done it completely the opposite. Again, phenomenal NBA offseason so far. Yes, I would agree, Gregory. It has been a very good offseason. And I think it's been a good, on paper, offseason for the Kings. You really can't debate otherwise. I mean, what would you point to? That you couldn't trade Levine? That you might lose Sabonis? To clarify, Could the Raptors sign him to a 5-year, then do a sign and trade with the Kings right after? I have no idea. Probably talking about Leonard. The Kings would not want Leonard. Yeah. Let's check in on Grant's audio.
You serious right now?
You gotta be better.
People are curious. Come on now, man. This is crazy.
You gotta be better than that.
People are curious. I really don't have an answer for that. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
His audio's bad right now. I don't mean to give him a hard time, but he's like, well, I can talk to other people, but I can't talk to Ryno. Trust me, my equipment's good. We're locked in. We do not have an issue. When we have an issue on this side, it's because I didn't hit the unmute button. Anyways, still hope Sabonis finds his way to Toronto. Not gonna lie. Interesting take. Where is Lynn? Fox for Duren? Why would you do that? I would not do that. That makes no sense. Kings could land Jimmy Butler. Come to think about it, look, LeBron's going to go to Golden State. This has already been decided. Like, don't let this whole thing. Okay, Tim Hardaway Jr., by the way, breaking news. Oh, where's our sound? I guess we don't have our sound. Tim Hardaway Jr. is headed to the Miami Heat. That's a big loss. All right, free agent sharpshooter Tim Hardaway Jr. will be signing with the Miami Heat to provide the organization with the spacing needed for Giannis Antetokounmpo. League sources tell Chris Haynes. So there we go. We have a free agent move that does not involve Domantas Sabonis. Levine plus Ryno and trade Sabonis to the Warriors. LeBron's going to the Warriors. LeBron is too calculated. This decision was made long ago. Like, it started bleeding out in the season. It's very clear where he's going to end up, but this is going to get dragged out. So I'm not going to speculate on what's going to happen when LeBron ends up in Golden State, because there's only a short list of teams that can grab him. Golden State can. It's Steve Kerr, rest management. Can you imagine if you're somebody like, is Steve Kerr trying to put Team USA back together? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. But can you imagine if you're somebody on the East Coast and you buy a ticket when the Warriors come to town, when LeBron signs with them, and Steve Kerr sits everyone out? That's going to be brutal. Detroit needs a shooter. Yeah. Should we keep convincing Detroit of that? Let's see if Detroit had anything else to say about the trade with Duren and Sabonis, the proposed move.
Tells you if they're miles apart, the Pistons offer is not only miles apart from what he could get in a sign and trade, it is miles and miles and miles apart from what he could get with the max contract. And the max contract is what he has earned the right to get a max contract based upon it being third team all NBA. I think that created for Jalen Duren, I think it changed his expectation for what he was going to get. And it must be so far off that over the course of, for what was it, 58 million he could make, if they are offering 35, let's say they're offering 38 over a 5-year contract, that's $100 million that he is not getting that he could. And even though,
well, if he earned it, yeah, but he didn't. He hasn't earned that max. I mean, he's earned the right.
He's earned the right to get
but
it.
It doesn't mean
he's
literally earned it.
But that doesn't mean he doesn't see it that way. That he's leaving $100 million in unrealized revenue.
Or that his agent sees it that way.
Yes. And so the Sacramento stuff, I'm just not sure that can be done. The Lakers are under the cap. They're going to.
Here's the other side that I do want to point to about this. I asked Grant last night about Scott Perry and the amount of autonomy that he's operating with versus any pull, any influence. And mind you, owners are always going to have input when it comes to their investments, their team, their baby, whatever they want to call it. But Vivek Ranadive has certainly been known to step over that line. And that's always been kind of the bugaboo behind the scenes for this team. It's been the poop in the King's ice cream. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you know Coach Cal, who coached Darius Acuff. He's got a great analogy. Check this out.
There's a bucket of poop and there's a bucket of ice cream. You can put all the ice cream in that poop that you want. It doesn't change it. But one little pinch of that poop in that ice cream ruins that ice cream. And I'll tell a guy, you, my man, are the poop in our ice cream.
So he has been at times the poop in the King's ice cream, especially when you look at the last couple transactions, big transactions. So we've had that tug and pull. And I actually think with this Duren situation, it proves even more that Scott Perry has a degree of autonomy, because Jalen Duren does not feel like a Vivek Ranadive player. Like, if I had to line the two up, if we made a list of Vivek Ranadive players, Zach LaVine. Let's see, who else are we going to? Russell Westbrook. Jalen, no. It completely feels like a Scott Perry look. And Duren's going to have interest in any team that has interest in him because of the wide gap that they were talking about on Detroit Sports Talk Radio between the Pistons and Duren. And as some of you have pointed out in the chat, LA is also looking at Duren. LA is also looking at Kessler or Walker Kessler. They're looking to fortify that center position. And Ayton obviously opted in because it was more money, even though it was just over $8 million that anybody else was going to pay him this season. So you have those options that are out there. But one thing that does ring true is you have a Domantas Sabonis problem. And Domantas Sabonis will never be a player that's going to cause a problem in the locker room or cause a problem on the court. It's just not going to happen. Domas will go out there and play his heart out for you, night in and night out. But there was a clear disconnect at some point between this team and Domas. If we're going to put our cork board up and try to map this thing out, we're going to do a detective board. Let's go all the way back to training camp. When we were in training camp, we heard that Doug Christie was changing the offense to get Domas better looks. Now, as we start this conversation, let's also premise it with the understanding this team and Domas suffered a ton of injuries, a ton. These guys could not stay on the court. So that plays into it as well. Maybe we just did not get a sample size to see enough of what those looks were going to be. But when the season started and Domas was healthy, if anything, it looked like the offense was being pulled back from Domas. He kind of looked like the odd man out. Most of his work was coming down low. It was getting offensive rebounds, putting the ball back. I understand that. I get that. That is what he's strong at, but he is also a threat from the perimeter with passing. The season before, not in large quantities, but by percentage, he showed you that he could shoot the three ball. So teams had to start stepping out on him a little bit more. The mid-range jumper has always been the bugaboo. The hesitation to take the mid-range jumper is the bugaboo. That is something that Jerry Reynolds has talked about. It's something that I've talked about. Others have talked about, because you unlock everything when you have that mid-range jump shot. If you're Domantas Sabonis, now you're at 3 levels. Now teams have to be up on you. And that's where, the Kings were probably a little slow, if you go back a couple years ago, to adjust to how teams were playing Domas. It started against Toronto, the Beam team year, when Toronto laid off of him. And we're talking behind the scenes. We're like, shit, I hope this tape doesn't get out to the rest of the NBA, and it didn't. And it was one of Domas's worst games of the season. And then we get to the playoffs, and it's exactly what the Warriors are doing to Domas. And it threw the team off. It confused them offensively. De'Aaron Fox really took over, and credit to him for doing that. And he was injured, played through it, etc. But anyways, back to Domas. He's one of those guys that's going to do what you ask him to do, but he also demands respect as well. He's been disrespected by the national media. There's times he should have been an all-star. He wasn't. Tell me how you make an all-NBA team, but you're not an all-star. That doesn't make any sense. And that's nothing new. It's the Sacramento stink, right? You have to do twice as much to get half of the recognition if you're a Sacramento King. Ask Malik Monk. He should have been sixth man of the year that same season. Did not happen. So Domas, understandably, be respectful. And so at the end of the season, when we were doing exit interviews, it was really interesting how many times he mentioned that, I'm an all NBA guy. It's like 2 or 3 times that he said that. I look forward to getting back to being an all NBA guy. So start of the season, he's not super involved, at least from a passing standpoint. And from a facilitating standpoint, when he was involved, it was very discombobulated. If there was a knock on Domantas-Sabonis, who is an extremely high IQ basketball player, it's not that he doesn't always make the right play. It's he doesn't always make the right play quick enough. That would be the knock. And so you saw a ton of turnovers, and that was not just Domas. You saw the other facilitators turning the ball over a ton this season. And again, injuries. So fast forward to this knee injury. He shows up on the injury report randomly with knee soreness, and he misses a game here. He misses a game there. And then it's announced that he had the meniscus issue. Typical Domas fashion, wanting to get back on the court sooner rather than later, he opted for the rehab option, which means, it's not guaranteed, but it could be the route that gets you back and playing this season, a season that is headed straight for the ground. It's not going up, it's going down. And he still wanted to be out there. Go back to the back-to-back Denver games, the Beam Team year, when Domas breaks his finger, or the avulsion fracture. He missed one game. And he was back playing the next game. So you know who he is. He set a standard in Sacramento with the culture that Mike Brown at that time was building. He set a standard that, I'm going to play through this. So wait, you're not going to play through that? You can't play? You see what I'm saying? It was a good bar to have. And so Domas goes through his rehab. Everything's looking pretty darn good. I put out some videos of him jumping off of both knees once he got back onto the court. And he comes back to the Kings. He's cleared to play. Now, at this point, because the Kings had so many injuries, you had guys that had been in the starting lineup regularly that missed time, that came back, Zach LaVine, Keegan Murray. Standard operating procedure, at least for those guys, was their first game back, they did not start. But then the second game, they started. So it was not a surprise that Domantas-Sabonis in his first game back did not start. What was a little bit of a surprise was how few minutes he played, which was really interesting. So then you roll into the next game, and it's like, oh, he's definitely going to be starting, right? No, he didn't. And Doug's asked about it, and there's an awkward kind of answer. It was before a game. I don't have it pulled, but it just seemed like that situation was not right. You could tell Doug wasn't comfortable talking about it, and it was a pregame interview. It was pregame media availability. So then you get to the third game, and Domas does not start. But he comes into the game, it was on the road, and absolutely dominates. And then he starts the next game. So it's like, okay, what happened here? And this is a season where you saw Keon Ellis fall in and out of the rotation, Malik Monk in and out of the rotation. What I can tell you, what I have been told from a very trusted source, the same source that gave us a heads up almost 18 hours before it was announced that Domas was going to have season-ending knee surgery. The same source told me that Domas was told after the first game that he would be back in the starting lineup. And when the Kings were in shoot around, it was either shoot around or a practice, and Doug put the 5 guys into the jersey color that were going to be starting. Domas was not one of them. And that is when Domas found out that he was not going to be starting. And I believe that is where the fracture ultimately began. That's where I believe the decision to have surgery on the meniscus was a calculated decision. That's why I believe that Domas was not around the team rehabbing, while the other guys who opted for surgery were. And I can also confirm in that practice, Domas vocally was upset, borderline needing to be held back, yelling at Doug, and also calling out Scott Perry, who I don't know was or wasn't in attendance. You can't do that to a guy that has given everything, and I'm not saying that the other Kings don't, but you can't handle a guy like Domas that way. So when you have that happen, and you take into account how he was pretty much frozen out, and this is also, by the way, this is also a guy that was not a huge fan of Mike Brown. He was one of the guys that wanted Mike Brown gone. He's a Doug Christie fan. He was okay with that. So that's a big 180. And you look at Domas's career, I think it was the G-Man that said it was the first time that he had not, like, when healthy, had not started a game. Now, that was fine for the first game. But the second game, third game, it didn't make sense. Either the knee was not on par, because here's what the Kings, by the way, let's be clear about this, because this has always been a Doug Christie thing, or at least I shouldn't say it's always been a Doug Christie thing, but usually the Kings do not bring players back on minutes restrictions. It's rare the Kings bring players back on minutes restrictions. Now, you might have a plan not to start them and bring them off the bench, but once a player comes back, usually they are fully available. And so when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, and Domas not returning to the team until the last, I believe there's just a couple games left. It was the last couple of games at the Golden One Center where you saw him finally, and then he was in town for exit interviews. It makes it much more clear when you're listening to the exit interviews that Domas does not feel valued. Domas feels jaded. And Domas is looking around wondering, what did I do? You know, and I think this is where it's fair to point out, now that we have seen the turnover with Scott Perry's front office with players, you know, Scott Perry didn't sign Domantas Sabonis. And also, you got to take this into account. You've got Max Ryno, who is overachieving, right? He's a second team all-rookie player. You have Dylan Cardwell, who gets signed to a full-time roster spot. And you were able to see Jekyll and Hyde. And when I say Jekyll and Hyde, you were able to see what the Kings looked like with a rim protector and what the Kings looked like without a rim protector, because Domas isn't a rim protector. And for that fact, Max Ryno really isn't either. But Dylan Cardwell is. And so taking that into consideration, both of those guys brought in by Scott Perry, you wonder, and I have no indication of this, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Domas is not a Scott Perry guy, but you wonder if it's the perfect storm. When you look at the number that he's owed, you look at the age on this roster, that you're going a different direction with the youth. And Domas is by no means old. He's in his prime. But could he not be in the plans? Did he get indication that he might not be in the plans as the season went along? It's very possible. I'm not confirming that. I don't know that. I told you what I know about the starting situation and what happened at practice, but that's where we stand. So at the end of the day, unlike Fox, who said, you know what, I never asked to be traded, because the words never came out of his mouth. At least it's coming out from Domas's camp that he would like a change of scenery, per NBA Central and some other reports from reputable reporters. I respect that. And I think Kings fans should respect that as well. Now, handling the situation with Domas, because as I said, you would not know whether there's a problem or whether there's no problem, because he's not one of those guys where it carries onto the court. He's going to give you his all for 48 minutes, whether he's happy or not. So if he's here in Sacramento, he's going to play his tail off. But if he's not in Sacramento, you are at a crossroads where this organization needs to get it right. And with Duren, I think that's why it's a very interesting debate. To me, Duren does not feel right. It feels like too much money for a style of center that is not been conducive to successful teams in the NBA. If you look at the successful teams in the NBA, the centers that are excelling the most are the centers that can play at 3 levels. Duren cannot. That said, big, physical, an argument to be made, a protector for Darius Acuff Jr. If you see Acuff as the future of this franchise, but at that number for Duren and where the Kings are at right now, I think you're better off hanging on to Sabonis or finding a better deal, because even if you hang on to Domas, you have him for this season and next season. And theoretically, you would like to get something for him. You don't want him to walk free and not get anything. But as you get closer to that deadline, one of two things are going to happen. More teams are going to become interested. The league is changing and evolving on a daily basis because of this CBA. Teams are flipping stars like they have never done before, because they can't sit there and wait for 2, 3, 4 years to see if combinations are going to work because of the finances of it. You can't be in the aprons. There is a huge value on identifying talent that's undrafted. It's on developing players, and then it's retaining players. Our 3 cores for the Kings court and the Kings this year: identify, develop, retain. The third has been the most difficult for them. They've got to be able to retain the young guys. So at worst, Domas's contract for a team that is still in flux and building would be off the books at the end of next season. That to me is so much more appealing than taking on Duren at 22 years old. I get the numbers. I get the size. There is just not enough of a sample size, at least for me, if I was the GM of the Kings at this state, to go all in on a guy like that. especially when you have Ryno, you have Cardwell, and yes, Duren is better than both of them. But it's a big swing. It would be the swing that Scott Perry would be judged on. It's the move that you would look back and say, you know what? Drafting Acuff and getting Duren, damn, Perry turned the Kings around. Or it's the point 2-3 years from now, much like the Levine contract, that you would point out and say, oh man, that's where the sink or the boat sunk. So super, super interesting stuff. NBA free agency going on. We'll see if the Kings make any additional moves. As we said earlier in the show, I'll get to your chat in a second. Big news. I thought it was the Kings' #1 offseason priority, retaining Precious Achiuwa. With their limited finances, they were able to do that. So he will be back on a 2-year, $11.5 million contract, a little bit below what I thought it would be. But a great deal for both sides. Gives Precious room to continue to increase his value. It's a short-term contract. And for the Kings, it gives you that bona fide 4 that I think you put next to Keegan Murray and put Keegan at the 3. And it is now Keegan Murray on the clock time. The Kings have to find a way to get him more involved, and Keegan's got to find a way to be more involved. Those things need to happen concurrently. They cannot be mutually exclusive. So good stuff there. LeBron, we've talked about a little bit as well. Don't forget, Grant back tonight, 7 o'clock. Will his audio work? Yes, it will, because I will not be on the show with him. So join him tonight, 7 p.m. He's been doing his shows from Thailand. Let's get to some of the chat. Still got a few thoughts on LeBron James. If you want to chime in on Domantas Sabonis, you can call the show as well. Put the link in the chat. You can scan the QR code that is on the screen as well. Does he have a second-year option? I have not gotten a press release from the Kings, so I can't confirm the financials other than what Chris Haynes has put out. 11.5 for 2 years. I'll check my email really quick, see if anything's come in. Nope, nothing yet officially announced from the Kings. So once we have those details, we'll pass it along. I doubt that it's an option. My guess is it's straight up. What about Max? Max is going to keep growing. And he's going to play for the French national team actually coming up here in the next week. And then he will be rejoining the team in Vegas for some summer league action, meaning he will miss the California Classic. I think that was first put out by, I don't want to take credit for that, James Ham first put that out. Are trades likely for the Kings after free agency? Probably not. You know what, Andre, I would say this. Once, and Jerry Reynolds kind of put the timeline on it, and mind you, you could have that big deal. Remember when we were all sitting here a week before training camp and Randall gets traded for Towns and everybody's like, what? And that was kind of where we realized, all right, this CBA is really shaking things up. But probably the end of Summer League would be the cutoff. Doesn't mean that it's not possible, but the end of Summer League. Because, yeah, the young guys get together, but it's also kind of a convention for the front offices as well, scouting their draft picks, their Summer League teams, along with other players, because a lot of those players will be up for grabs when Summer League is over. We should be getting the Kings Summer League roster anytime as well. I talked to somebody with the organization yesterday when I was at the building, and Summer League practices are getting ready to start. In fact, I don't even think we know who's coaching the Summer League team yet. I've not seen an announcement on that. Last year, it was Depeche Mistry did a great job. And in fact, the Kings Summer League team, not that it means much, but I would, and I'm not sure where Vegas has them. They probably should be in the top 3 or 4 favorites to win Summer League, considering who they have that's going to be playing. You're going to have a lot of second-year guys that will be there. Rather have young bigs play instead. Understand Precious is coming back. Yes, indeed. Patrick, I'm curious because Precious was in New York before. Well, he had a training camp with another team in between signing with the Kings. But what's the growth look like for you, Patrick, when you watch him play now? Because when Precious got here at the start of the season, and he was doing his workouts, he was a little bit. He was not in the same shape he was to finish the season. But to see him chip away and add to his game throughout the season and see that translate to games, especially the 3-point shot, he was really good at times from beyond the arc. His evolution has been awesome. So there's a development phase part of that, who he's working with his game, the players he's playing with, that he clearly enjoys about Sacramento. And I think part of that's finding a home. He's kind of been a vagabond for the most part. And this is a guy that's been in big markets, played for the Knicks. You're right. It's not the King who was playing on all cylinders when Domas came back. Yeah, they were not. Dudes and dudettes were getting Kawhi Leonard. BJ.
You serious right now?
You gotta be better.
People are curious. Come on now, man. This is crazy.
You gotta be better than that.
People are curious. I really don't have an answer for that. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
So, quote from Mark Stein. Quote, I would be surprised by night's end if the Pistons haven't added one player not currently on their roster. Okay. It is free agency. That's one of those tweets, right? That you can kind of put out at any time. I would not be surprised if the Kings add a player to the roster right now. I like Mark Stein. Very, very good journalist. Great stuff with the NBA, but that's funny. Naturally, if you're a player and want to come play for Sacramento Kings, don't you have to question his heart and just his will for money? I don't think it's fair to judge him in that sense because he's asking for the max. Why wouldn't you ask for the max? You know, that's kind of a hard thing to get smacked in the face with, right? If you're 22 years old, you make an all NBA team, and you're now eligible for $220 million plus over 5 years, and teams don't want to give it to you, like you're thinking you are at the height right now of your career, or you're at least on the launching pad. That's not going to be an easy thing to face, but asking for it is one thing. Coming to an understanding on your value, that's another. I'm convinced Duren would go anywhere that would give him the max. He will interview with anybody, visit any team, and have interest in them if they're open to paying him that max amount. And who knows Duren better than anybody else? The Detroit Pistons. If the Pistons do not feel like he's a max player, what is Scott Perry and the Sacramento, and the Kings can't pay him that much, but you know, what's the rest of the league thinking? I don't think the Lakers would offer him the max. I don't. Maybe. No, I don't see them. Well, maybe the Lakers might be the one team that might throw that out there. But I believe Detroit is the only team that can offer him that full. It would have to be a sign and trade. Again, we've been kind of listening to the Detroit media in their take on this since, He's probably been hammered over the head with local views. Let's go back to them really quick.
Meet with Duren. And this deal is much easier because the Lakers have cap space. They want Duren. Tim McMahon on ESPN questioned if the Lakers really even want LeBron at this point. They haven't offered. They're kind of slow playing him. And they might really just want to build around Luka and Austin Reeves.
Stop. It's the other way
add
around.
Duren to that mix and let LeBron go. Brian Windhorst said LeBron hasn't told them what he is planning on doing, and they expect some news today. The Warriors just cleared cap space with the Draymond contract that he turned down because they're expected to make a run at LeBron, and they're now the Vegas favorites to get LeBron if LeBron doesn't go back to the Lakers.
Not at the max.
You know, I think this is mostly posturing. Okay. My guess that this is mostly I'm going to Yemen. And I swear I'll go to Yemen. And but I really don't believe he is going to go to Sacramento.
We'll play some more from them in a second. What do you think about our draft picks? I really like it. I was a big fan of Kingston Fleming's. Still am. Think he's going to have a great career. Think he has landed in an excellent spot to play a year with CJ McCollum and a Hawks team that is probably going to sneak up on the Eastern Conference this coming season. But Scott Perry stuck to his guns. Scott Perry told us at exits that the Kings would draft best available player, and undoubtedly Darius Acuff Jr. was the best available player at the time. Had the Kings taken Kingston Fleming's, to me, that would have been a decision that he is the best fit, not the best player. We think he's really good, but he's a much better fit for the direction we want to go. So Scott Perry stuck to what Scott Perry said he was going to do. Everybody that was talking about the Kings getting or moving up to get Acuff Jr., I sat here and said, no, y'all need to be talking about the Kings getting back into the first round, getting another first round draft pick this season, which Scott Perry did, which ends up being Alex Caravan, who I really like his game. I'm big on what he brings from an IQ standpoint, most winningest player in UConn history, 242 wins, I believe best 3-point per shooter or most threes made, one of those two in UConn history. And being around the players yesterday, you can see these guys all bring a different degree of pedigree. Like even Emmanuel Sharp talking about defense being the most underrated part of his game. I think Scott Perry's knocked it out of the park on paper. I think Darius Acuff Jr., he's going to be explosive. He's going to be really, really fun to watch at times. I think you're going to have your growing bump or, your growing pains as well, where it's like, oh man, he shot the ball terrible tonight. Why a bad shot selection, those kinds of things. But there's this quiet storm about Darius Acuff. I don't know how to summarize it. It's something that I've been trying to put into words over the last almost week. Actually, the last week since the Kings drafted him. He's much more about actions than words. And he comes off as very calculated. And as Scott Perry said, like he steps into the gym and he believes he's the best player. You can see that in his demeanor. Like if you want to knock a guy for maybe being too ball dominant, you also have to look at the other side of the coin where like it's about basketball for him. It's not about anything else, at least my perception, but basketball for him. I mean, certainly family, etc. But basketball in team. I mean, he showed up at the press conference yesterday, black suit. Even his clothing made a statement to me. Black suit, black tie. Can you get any more just basic? Like, I don't care about what I'm wearing. I'm going to look professional. How soon can I get this off? All three players actually threw it. Well, all three of them, before Scott said it, we had learned that they got some practice time in when they got to Sacramento on Monday. But all three players threw out the first pitch for the A's last night. And when I saw the video that Kevin John posted, I'm like, is Darius still in his suit pants? What's going on? So anyways, really good job on paper by Scott Perry. 4 of his first 5 draft picks have played 4 or more years in college. I asked him about that yesterday and the basketball IQ standpoint of things. So he's bringing in high IQ players that come from programs and backgrounds where they have played at and been coached at a very high level, especially this draft class. Calipari, Sampson, and Bobby Hurley. I mean, arguably 3 of the best coaches in college basketball right there. Facts. I don't have a sound drop like that. Facts. Do we have any free agency updates? Shams, any bombs for us? Okay, Kawhi Leonard. We already hit that. Anything else, Shams? Mark Haynes, nothing else at the time. League news, the NBA will hold the NBA Cup championship game at Butler's Hinkle Fieldhouse on December 11th next season. So the NBA Cup's now turning into even more of a gimmick. We're going to play it at college arenas. Holy crap. Commissioner ears, man. Yeah, everything's kind of quiet right now. And you know why I think a lot of it's quiet right now? It goes to one man. Goes to one man. You know who I'm talking about. LeBron James. Like, everything this season, especially the second half of the season. Now, he was the best player in the Houston. Whose birthday is it? Is it your birthday? BJ, happy birthday, my man. Of course. If I'm going to pay to have Mike Tyson come up with a birthday song for the King's Court and all of you, of course I'll play it. Where are you at? I got you. Happy birthday.
Hey, it's your birthday. Hey, it's your day. It's not Monday. It's not Tuesday. It's not Wednesday. It's not Thursday. It's not Friday. It's not Saturday. It's not Thursday. It's your birthday.
Yeah, for sure. Everything you just said.
Oh, it's not your birthday. Just like that. Are you serious, man? Do I look like a DJ? Is that what I am, BJ? DJ Ryno? Any other requests since I'm a DJ? I'm sure they're going to come flood in. Yeah, I would. I think that's a very good comp. Thanks, Patrick. Have a great day. Honest question. What about the kid from Orlando, free agent forward, Jonathan Isaac? You don't need him. You have Precious back. Lakers trading Luka to the Kings.
You serious
better,
right
bro.
now?
You gotta be better.
People are curious. Come on now, man. This is crazy.
You gotta be better than that.
People are curious. I really don't have an answer for that. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
No chance. 0 chance he's coming to Sacramento. 0 chance. What stinks about this is something that LeBron's already made up his mind. He knew this. This did not just get decided today. This didn't just get decided yesterday. This has been decided at least since the end of the playoffs. It's even more mapped out than that. You know why I know that? Because De'Aaron Fox is not Rich Paul's most important client, and Rich Paul had De'Aaron Fox's trade mapped out before De'Aaron Fox even wanted to be traded. Rich Paul approached De'Aaron, said San Antonio is the right place for you to be. Let's go talk to the Kings. And then things happened from there. So you're going to tell me that LeBron and Rich Paul today just decided that he's not going back to LA? Like the writing wasn't on the wall since it was the first season in almost 10 that he didn't have a player option. Yeah, you knew this was going to be it. And you know what this also is? This is now the announcement of the LeBron James retirement tour. Get ready for it. Not saying he doesn't deserve it. Some players don't want it. Some players do. LeBron's that player that's going to tell you, I don't want it, but he really does. Like, it's disingenuous. And I respect the hell out of LeBron as a player and what he's done in the league. I just think some of these things, this yearning for the spotlight when he doesn't, I don't understand how he thinks he needs to do more to get the spotlight. Anything you do is going to get the spotlight, my man. But I think it's a really bad look hours before free agency opens to formally announce that you are not returning to the Lakers, because then you have now thrown a domino in a handful of teams' plans for the offseason. Now we wait on LeBron. All eyes on LeBron. Just like LeBron wants it. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I thought he learned from the decision. Hell, I thought even when we got to the point where they came out with the commercial for the decision 2, and there were people like, is this serious? Is he really doing it? He even cracked on himself by doing that. But now today, it's just disingenuous, man. It's selfish. You're on your last tread in the NBA. Your tires, much like your head, are balding. You don't need to do anything extra for the spotlight. But I can probably, with a lot of confidence, tell you we would have more than one move, Tim Hardaway Jr., going to the Miami Heat, had LeBron not done this. And guess what? It's mapped out already. Book it. He's going to Golden State. It's no secret. It's like LeBron thinks that we're not on to this. The national reporters have been on this for weeks now. Like, my man, like, at what point do you not just put it out and get it out there when everybody already knows? And then, of course, the Lakers play into it. We've got to issue our statement, which I'm sure they had no idea and were completely caught off guard that they were going to have to put together a statement of this caliber, thanking LeBron James. Quote, LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes in history. We will always be thankful for his 8 years with the Lakers, including the title he led us to in 2020 under the toughest imaginable circumstances in the country's circumstances, in the countless records. Sorry, it's small on my screen. He broke in purple and gold. We wish him all the best in his future, both on the court and off. He will always be cherished as a part of the Lakers family. Fair enough. Still is and always will be Kobe's town. What makes this so rich to me is looking at this list. If LeBron wants the max that he can get right now, there's only a couple of teams that can do it. So, do you think he's going to Chicago? No. Scratch the Lakers off. He's done there. Is he headed for Brooklyn? No. He's going to end up probably taking a pay cut. Probably won't be that significant of a pay cut, but it's going to be a pay cut. And the guy is going to go play with Steph Curry in Golden State. He's gonna, you know why I know this? Because he doesn't want to be out of California. He does not want to leave Los Angeles. What's the best move? What's the middle ground? Golden State. You can get back to LA on an off day if you want to. Hell, maybe you can skip a practice if you need to be with the family. It's literally what? Less than an hour flight to get back home. You're welcome. It just came to mind. I had to get my wife's tires changed last week. Shout out to Les Schwab, by the way. Those guys were really cool. Some of them watch the channel, so shout out to you guys. Appreciate you. He's going to Golden State. He's going to play with Curry. It's going to be one of those things where it's all about getting to the playoffs. I doubt AD ends up in Golden State. I think it's a little too much. LeBron and Curry have always wanted to play together. LeBron's not going to Cleveland. He can't go to Cleveland. Is he going back to Miami? No. His ego is too big. Here's the funny thing. He's going to be going to a team, in my opinion, where it's not even going to be his team. That's what's great about it. Still going to be Steph Curry's team, my man. So I just wonder how this hurts his legacy. If it hurts his legacy, there's just the right way to do business and the wrong way to do business. And damn it, he knows both because he's done both of them. The decision was awful.'s letter to Cleveland was great. Him going to LA, fine. But this was already assumed. But you do it on the day free agency opens, and now free agency is kind of stalled because you do have a handful of teams that could pay him a little bit closer to what he's asking for that would be enticing, that can make their pitches. And to think about Rich Paul's tweet that he put out, let me read this to you. This just makes my point for me about the narcissism. I think I took a picture of it. Yes. Okay. So this is per Dave McMenamin. LeBron James has instructed Rich Paul to talk to everyone around the league who is interested in him playing for them and come back to him with what the options are so he can make his decision. A source familiar with James's thinking told ESPN. Really? So if Scott Perry is interested in LeBron James, Rich Paul's going to take that meeting and come back to LeBron James. It's just stupid. See, that's what I mean. If you're going to do this, you opt out and you sign with Golden State right away. It's when free agency opens. That's what you do. That's the right play, LeBron. LeBron, my man, you would be getting so much reaction to it. A lot more of it positive. But now this is going to turn in again to LeBron watch. Oh, where's Rich Paul's jet going? Oh, you think LeBron's on that jet? Like, this is now what we're going to get force fed for the next, week at least? Poorly played, LeBron. Like I said, man, your tires are balding, just like your head. Go out with dignity. Quit trying to steal the rest of the league's thunder. My man, you have destroyed the All-Star game. Haven't you done enough damage? Come on, man. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. I like LeBron. I have no problem with LeBron. I have a problem with the way LeBron James does business because he knows better. It's calculated. He's been on both sides of the coin. It's just, I'm over it. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. Dude, He just cannot let the conversation not be about him. Incredible. Mark Spears, Pistons have offered what the franchise believes is the most lucrative contract possible for their free agent, Jalen Duren. This is all it was. Is it fair now that I can take the reckless out of it from yesterday? Yesterday, because it broke while we were on this show, I made it reckless speculation. Yes, the Kings probably are interested if there's a Sabonis deal to be made there. But for Duren, like, you think he just circled Sacramento and said, I want to be there? He's going to want to be wherever will take a meeting, with him, because Detroit and him are so far apart. Posturing. But on the bright side, I will say this. That feels very much like a Scott Perry type of move than a Vivek Ranadive type of move. So that is a positive. If you're looking at whether or not Scott is working with autonomy and driving the ship, steering the ship, whatever you do with the ship. I don't have boats. I don't. What's the saying? Boat bust out another 1,000 in maintenance? No, thank you. Apparently, Chris Darnell is coaching the Summer League team. Cool. Per Charlie Wise. All right, there you go. Oh, Charlie Lewis. Sorry, my I should show you guys how small the font is on my screen. Charlie Lewis says Chris Darnell is going to be coaching the Summer League team. Okay, very cool. Do not have a press release yet, but my guess is that press release will come with the Kings Summer League roster, which is going to be coming out imminently because they're getting ready to start practicing with the California Classic coming up in a couple days. Couple of notes: Max Ryno will not be with the team for the California Classic, but he will meet the team in Vegas. He's going to be playing for Spain, for France. So, all right. I think we're pretty much good. Do we have Jerry's Esper drop? Yeah, we have it somewhere. If you are new around here, don't forget Jerry Reynolds will be with us tomorrow. We will get his opinion on all that has gone on over this past week since we talked with him last. We'll talk about any new free agency moves that happen between now and then. Again, the big story for today and what I thought is really the Kings' number one priority from a free agency standpoint, understanding that the Kings have very limited resources to work with. It's getting Precious Achiuwa to come back on a 2-year deal. That's huge for them. I love that. Love it for both sides. Okay, sorry. There was a breaking news alert on LeBron. And it was the same damn tweet that was put out earlier. See, he's dominating the coverage. So anyways, Precious is going to be back. Now, second thing you got to look at, and I know it was poor timing yesterday by Graham from the Sacramento Bee, is a veteran point guard. And one guy that I'm going to keep my eye on is Marcus Smart. He opted out of his contract with the Lakers, which makes sense. Austin Reeves gets the big re-up. You've got Luka there. So I think Marcus Smart would be a decent fit in Sacramento. Now, would Marcus Smart want to be in Sacramento? Who knows? We'll have to see. But that contract that he opted out of was only $5.9 million. And I don't mean like only $5.9 million, but you get what I'm saying. So much like your, how did I say? No, it's your tires. Much like your head are balding. Perfection. Clip it. Yeah, there you go. Oh my goodness. Appreciate all of you. What a show today. Go back, listen to anything you missed if you would like. Find the King's Court with Ryno anywhere where you find your podcasts. Replay will be available right now. You can go back and watch what I said earlier if you would like. Got Grant tonight. Is this what it feels like to have a GM that actually does things? It's a great question, Gregory. Where Scott Perry is right now is not all that undifferent to where Monty McNair was at this point. Think about Monty McNair's first couple of years. You get Sabonis. The Kings then have the Beam team year. Here, for me, Gregory, and this is where we'll end the show, I think Scott Perry, where he is at, is more important than where Monty McNair was at for this reason. The Kings put together a panel where Vivek was stepping out of it to hire the next GM, and they were going to let the GM hire the next coach, right? Because everybody was tired. Vivek acknowledged a little bit of the meddling, right? And so that was at the forefront, and there was an emphasis on letting Monty McNair do what he's going to do. Like, it was made super clear. With Scott Perry, it was not. We found out that Scott Perry was going to be the next general manager while we were still on the air doing the Kings and Mavericks postgame show. That's when Grant and I found out. Now, we couldn't run with it yet. And we also found out that that was when Doug Christie was going to be returning too. We knew that night. So the fact that you had Vivek unilaterally fire Mike Brown, you had Vivek unilaterally trade De'Aaron Fox, and then you had Vivek go into, well, it wasn't Vivek, it was Alvin Gentry, go into the locker room to tell the players that Scott Perry's the new GM. You had a GM hired before your GM was fired. You get what I mean. I'm looking at all of the coverage is LeBron James. Of course, just as LeBron wanted it. So the fact that Vivek has been so heavily involved and Scott has really executed on a lot of the things that he talked about, I think it's more impressive what Scott's done so far, if I had to compare the two in their sample size. So really good question. But yeah, it's nice. I like it. Scott's great right now. He's doing what he says. That's about as much as you can ask for from a general manager. All right, Napes, tonight, 7:00, join him. One more sleep, and guess what? It's Jerry Reynolds Wednesday. Can't wait for that. Jerry will be with us tomorrow. Really quick, I think it's good for Bronny James. I think it's awesome for Bronny James. It's actually it's a story that's not covered enough, in my opinion. Bronny has really worked his way into being a legit end of the bench guard. And I mean that with all due respect. That's a long way to come from not being an NBA player to where he's at now. Now, he's still got a lot of room to improve, but he's has a place in the NBA. So I'm actually thinking it's good that the two of them are going to be separated. And, I'm sure Bronny, and we had this talk last year, I highly doubt Bronny was a big fan of how all that went down. So anyways, we're out. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks to everybody for being here. Thanks for participating in the chat. If anything happens tonight, I will come back on. I don't expect it to, but if it does, we'll be here. Grant, 7:00 tonight as well. Can't wait to see you back tomorrow. Jerry Reynolds will be with us at 3:30. We'll be back on 3:00 on the King's Court. Make it a great one. Stay safe. Stay cool. Talk to you tomorrow. Court is dismissed.